Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the United Ummah's rating guide. This is for new players or players that just need a little refresher. I'm going to be trying to give a general informative video on how to actually go about rating and make money. Make money from rating. That is the most important part. So, before you do anything, since this is a tutorial for newer players, I will be including some basic tips, things such as, kind of accessing the interface, checking your policies beforehand and making sure that you have the right enough amount of resources before you get into war. This doesn't apply to raiding, this applies to wars in general, but it is important that everybody in the United Ummah actually takes this into account. So, before even considering raiding, the first thing that you need to do is you need to check your war chest. So what your war chest consists of is gasoline, munitions, steel, aluminium, and food. You might ask why these and not these. Well, simply because your military relies on these. For example, the aircraft, and basically your entire military requires these to operate. So if you run out of these, you're basically screwed. You cannot fight back, and you will die, especially if you're blockaded. So you always need to make sure these are very high up. I'd say around 10,000 at the very least for both of these. Steel and aluminium just so you can replenish your armies, and food just so your nation doesn't starve, basically. No brainer, you always need money. So with that out the way, now let's get on to actual policies. And since you're rating, your policy should be very straightforward, which is okay. So mine is covert. Unfortunately, I can't change it. So you can just click on it, change it to pirate. All this does, it makes you gain 40% more loot, which is just better. 40% more loot in the long run. You will be rating, getting a lot more money. It actually will make rating worth it. You will also get a debuff of double chance to lose your improvements, but as long as you raid people that are either inactive or have a much smaller army than you should be fine. Unless they have missiles, then you can get an Iron Dome or Vital Defense. That would be a way to get rid of nukes. So, once you have the pirate policy on, you are halfway there. Let's access the Wars tab. Now, the Wars tab is basically just the area that you would be looking any wars that you're in, is just to view all the wars that you're currently in. But you're not actually going to be clicking this button. So this button, it's a noob trap. You don't need to use this because we have Discord bots, and Discord bots are a lot more efficient than we are at just manually scanning around and looking for people to raid. Oh, and I did forget to mention, you need to be careful who you raid. So don't raid people in big alliances, top 50, maybe even top 60 or 70 in case they do have ties with other alliances. If you're unsure, please consult a mentor or a government member or someone that's just more experienced, whether or not you should be raiding this person. But it's as simple as just don't attack people in alliances. Either attack people like this, which are applicants, but sometimes there are some alliances that might defend applicants. Most of the time they don't, as long as they're not allied to you or they're known for countering applicants. Then you should be more than welcome to be raiding applicants. You would never be looking for targets here. You will be looking for targets on Discord. And you'll have something called Auto Lycus. And what Auto Lycus does, it does a lot of things, but what we use it for is for raiding. So you would simply type /raids and hit enter, and I will go through the configuration. So I'm going to just say no because, well, you would always click yes, but for demonstration purposes, I will click no. Embed on Discord is always better. I recommend you do that. So here's the filters. What nations you want to include? Applicants and nations, not in alliances. Always. We've already been over that. Do not click this because if they have three defensive wars, you can only be attacked by 3 nations at a time. So that means they will not have any open war slots, so they cannot be attacked. So 2 or less is just fine. How inactive should they be? Honestly, I would click I don't care because sometimes if they're good nations to loot, then they're not going to have a military anyway. And to be frank, we don't really care if they're active or not. If they don't have a military and they have a lot of money, that is a raiding target. Do you want to include beige nations? You cannot attack beige nations, so no. Should there be a minimum previous beige loot? If you want, you can click it. I will just do no minimum for now. Yes. So this is always click yes. So this is basically omitting nations with bad income, nations that have a big military, or nations that were previously paid for $0. This isn't too important. You can always get resources from them, but it's nice to actually get fluid money. But you always click yes because they will be showing you nations with big militaries, and you don't want to deal with that because that makes raiding counterintuitive. You will lose more than you gain. So click yes. And now it's going to show me, and there's only 3, unfortunately, but they are targets. For you guys, you'll be a lot lower score than me, so you'll be finding a lot more better and juicier targets. I don't tend to find people that abandon their nations like that, or are not in alliances already, so I only have 3 in the entire, and one of them is the nation that I already checked out. It's already the nation I checked out. I already know this is not a good target. This is not a good target. So, okay, none of these are really good targets, because you can tell their net incomes are terrible. Previous nation loots are basically none. Not available. Yeah, so if you were in my situation, you would not choose any of these people. But for the sake of demonstration, I am going to put myself in a position where I attack these people. So I am going to attack this person, just to demonstrate, which is very annoying, but for the United Ummah, I will do... Oh, let's hope I can actually attack this person. I can. So, raid, obviously. You just leave this, you don't care. You can just put inactive raid, for example. That's what people usually do. Inactive raid, DM for peace. It's like the culture. Also, make sure that you meet the minimum military requirement for your alliance during your time. That should be at least 5 barracks, 3 factories, 5 hangars, and 1 dry dock. Right now, I believe it is somewhat around that value, but what you need to aim for is having a maximum maxed out military improvements, because you will be raiding constantly, you'll be getting yourself into wars. It is important that you keep yourself at full power at all times. Also make sure that your barracks are always maxed out, because they create soldiers, which are the most cost-effective units in looting. Factories as well, tanks increase the amount of maximum money that you can loot from a nation greatly, so I would recommend that you also keep this at max, just to make sure that you're looting as much as possible. Now you're at the war tab. This is the only point of wars. It's just to check the wars that you're in. You don't ever check for wars to get in. You use bots for that. You always use bots. Use bots for a lot of things that require manual work, for like finding things or finding the best template for your city. So you always do that. So obviously, you would be having a much bigger military than I am. I am not raiding currently. I am just sitting down making money. Don't want to get into raiding. So you will have a much bigger military than this, and you should if you are raiding. But what I would do is ground battle. Ground battle is the only way for you to acquire money through a ground battle. No munitions. You can use tanks if you're 100% sure that this nation that you're looting or raiding is absolutely loaded. If they're not, there is no point in using them. I know that they are not loaded, so I'm not going to be using any. But in most situations, if you have chosen your target correctly, you will always want to use tanks. Even though it does expend gasoline and you might lose a little bit of tanks, the amount of extra money that you gain will make up for that, and then some. So you always click off munitions. It does not increase the amount of money that you get, as you can see. It does not increase it. 9,000 is nothing. If this is the amount of money that you're going to be looting on a maximum, that is not good. But I'm doing this for educational purposes. You will be having a lot more money looted. So then I click launch, ground battle. Okay, I forgot that. Yeah, you can still get another fail. Well, I didn't get any money from that anyway, so he's completely drained of his bank account. But yeah, don't do this. Always send in more than 2,000 soldiers. That is not enough. Let me show you what it looks like when you actually win. Okay. There you go. So when I send in 5,000 tanks, that will be an immense triumph. There you go. Bad target. Bad target. I used up munitions. This is what you don't want to do. This is an example of what not to do. But that's pretty much it. So I hope that rating guide, inshallah, helps you with rating targets and getting money at an early stage of the game, so that then you can finally get up to urban planning, the urban planning project, and then get yourself up to C16 very quickly. We wish you luck and have a fun time. This is a game at the end of the day, and the priority is for you to have fun. Masalama.